To follow. Well, I have no doubts we have done just that. The two greatest iconic figures of World War II are England's Winston Churchill, Prime Minister, and U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Almost as well known is President Roosevelt's constant companion who every night slept at the foot of the president's bed, his Scottish Terrier named Felsen. We have two participants in our next performance. There's no guarantee both will be there the whole time. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President Roosevelt and Felsen.
It is grand being back here in Allegheny County. I recall giving a campaign speech in Wellsville on October 19, 1928, when I ran for governor. Yet now I wish to begin with an excerpt from my first presidential inaugural address on March 4th, 1933, at the time when our nation was in the midst of our worst financial crisis. President Hoover, Mr. Chief Justice, my friends, this is a day of national consecration, and I am certain that on this day, my fellow Americans expect on my induction into the presidency, I will address them with a candor and a decision which the present situation of our people impels. This is preeminently the time to speak the truth, the whole truth, frankly and boldly. Nor need we shrink from honestly facing conditions in our country today. This great nation will endure as it has endured, will revive, and will prosper. So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance. And this great nation of ours did advance. Millions of Americans made bank deposits again. Legislation rushed through the Congress. Banking, industrial, and agricultural relief acts were passed. The Tennessee Valley Authority and the CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps, provided jobs to the unemployed. By 1935, the American spirit had begun to change from gloom to optimism. But at the same time, the aggressor nations threatened world peace. October 1935, Italy invaded the African nation of Abyssinia. April 1936, Hitler sent troops into Rhineland. July 1937, Japan attacked central China. On September 1st, 1939, the Nazis marched into Poland. My fireside chats in those years encouraged neutrality, but emphasized our need to beef up our national defenses and to aid the war efforts of Great Britain. The Selective Service Act in September 1940 provided our nation's first peacetime military draft. To assist Great Britain, Congress passed the Lend-Lease Act. It stipulated for the sale, lend, lease, or otherwise dispose of arms to any nation whose self-defense was linked to our United States national security. Off the coast of Newfoundland, Churchill and I crafted the Atlantic Charter. We cemented common war aims and defined a better future for the world after the final destruction of Nazi tyranny. But all changed for our nation on December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. On the very next day, December 8th, I addressed Congress requesting a declaration of war between Japan and the United States. The declaration. Mr. Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate and House of Representatives, yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan, was still in conversation with its government and its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific. Indeed, 1 hour after Japanese air squadrons had commenced bombing in the American island of Oahu, the Japanese ambassador to the United States and his colleague delivered to our Secretary of State a formal reply to a recent American message. And while this reply stated that it seemed useless to continue the existing diplomatic negotiations, it contained no threat or hint of war or of an armed attack. It will be recorded that the distance of Hawaii from Japan makes it obvious that the attack was deliberately planned many days or even weeks ago. During the intervening time, the Japanese government has deliberately sought to deceive the United States by false statements and expressions of hope for continued peace. The attack yesterday on the Hawaiian Islands has caused severe damage to American naval and military forces. I regret to tell you that very many American lives have been lost. In addition, American ships have been reported torpedoed on the high seas between San Francisco and Honolulu. Yesterday, the Japanese government also launched an attack against Malaya. Last night, Japanese forces attacked Hong Kong. Last night, Japanese forces attacked Guam. Last night, Japanese forces attacked the Philippine Islands. Last night, the Japanese attacked Wake Island And this morning, the Japanese attacked Midway Island. Japan has therefore undertaken a surprise offensive, extending throughout the Pacific area. The facts of yesterday and today speak for themselves. The people of the United States have already formed their opinions and well understand the implications to the very life and safety of our nation. As Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, I have directed that all measures be taken for our defense. But always will our whole nation remember the character of the onslaught against us. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people, in their righteous might, will win through to absolute victory. I believe that I interpret the will of the Congress and of the people when I assert that we will not only defend ourselves to the uttermost, but will make it very certain that this form of treachery shall never again endanger us. Hostilities exist. There is no blinking at the fact that our people, our territory, and our interests are in grave danger. With confidence in our armed forces, with the unbounding determination of our people, we will gain the inevitable triumph, so help us God. I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire. A few hours later, the war documents were signed. But at this time, let me share with you a rather humorous story about the Pacific War. Seems there was this young Marine about to be sent home, and he was very despondent that he had not yet shot a Jap soldier. He complained to his captain. The captain said, "Tell you what you do. You go to that far hill, you climb to the top of it, you shout the hell with Hirohito. I guarantee a Jap soldier will pop up and you'll shoot him." The young man disappeared. He returned, more despondent than ever. The captain said, "Didn't you do as I ordered?" "Yes, sir, I did. I went to the top of that hill, I shouted the hell with Hirohito, and the Jap soldier popped up and shouted the hell with Roosevelt, and I just couldn't shoot a fellow Republican." More seriously, the next day, December 9th, 1941, having already addressed the Congress, I felt compelled to address our American people with a fireside chat. I'll just repeat part of that address. We are now in the midst of a war, not for conquest, not for vengeance, but for a world in which this nation and all this nation represents will be safe for our children, So we are going to win